Wow, what a story. Jannik Sinner is the Wimbledon champion in 2025. And oh my goodness, there's so many ways to go with this match. I don't even know where to start. I don't know if we start with the grand story or if we start in the match in particular, but I'm going to start with the match in particular. Jannik Sinner comes into this final. There were questions about him and his physicality after his injury. He should have lost to Grigor Dimitrov, and I'll be honest, I still believe that he got lucky. Don't get me wrong, I think the injury affected him as well, but I still think he got lucky that Grigor injured himself. He destroyed Ben Shelton, and that actually left us with more questions about Ben Shelton and his future than it did praise from Jannik, even though he was excellent. He also destroyed the GOAT, Novak Djokovic, although Djokovic was injured as well in a way more critical way than Sinner was, and Djokovic is also 38 years old. But it looked like the bone bruise isn't affecting Jannik at all. It doesn't seem to be an issue for him. He's hitting just as hard. He's serving still well. He's hitting his backhand well. He's hitting his winners well. He is doing well all over the place. But that's not Carlos Alcaraz. Now let's go backwards. Carlos Alcaraz has been the best player in the world for a couple years now. He has beaten Jannik Sinner 5 straight matchups, and he just beat Jannik Sinner in arguably the greatest Grand Slam final that we ever saw. And there were genuine questions. Several things. One, and I had this for a long time. Will Jannik Sinner ever beat Carlos Alcaraz in a meaningful match? Sure, he was obviously going to beat Alcaraz again, but maybe it would be in like the semifinals of like a 250 or a 500 or, a 1000. But will he ever beat him at a Grand Slam? Or will he ever beat him at a final of a major tournament? Not just a Grand Slam, but even 1,000. Will he ever do that? Because there were serious questions about it. Has Alcaraz psychologically gotten to him? I do think their play styles are different enough, so that's why it makes the rivalry so interesting. That's why we love Federer and Nadal so much, because their play styles were very different. So because of that, it made the rivalry, oh my goodness, wow. A one-handed backhand versus a lefty, like sign me up. And their play styles being incredibly different is what makes us be like, woo, we have to watch every single matchup they play against each other. But for Jannik Sinner to lose the French Open Roland Garros final in the way that he did, having 3 championship points, being up love 40 with 3 chances to just break once and you are the champion of Roland Garros, after being ostracized by the tennis world, suspended for 3 months, and people believing that you are a dope and a cheater, you have 3 chances to win a trophy that will silence everybody. Sure, the critics will get louder like, oh man, a cheater won. But hey, that cheater still has the trophy, even though I don't believe he's a cheater, because the court literally found that the cluster ball being in his body wasn't his fault. Okay, so I don't buy any of that. Plus, he doesn't look any different. He was just as great before. He's just as great now. But anyway, he had the opportunity. Alcaraz broke him 3. Alcaraz saved 3 points. Broke him in the next game. And then from then on, he was depleted. Sorry, I can't even speak. He was done. And it was so hard to watch Jannik cry on the bench. His mom go through what she did. His team, I bet, go through what they did. But for Jannik to bounce back, come to Wimbledon, the most prestigious tournament in tennis, a tournament that he hasn't had much success in. He was up 2 sets to love against Djokovic in 2022. Let's be real, a 20-year-old Jannik Sinner, nowhere near as good now. He played against Djokovic again in 2023 and lost, and I believe he played 2024. I want to say it was against Medvedev, and he lost as well. Hasn't had much success, and he hasn't established himself as a great grass court player, even though he won Halle last year. And I said, if he comes and wins Wimbledon after losing the way he did, it'll make it feel even sweeter. But it was looking a bit dodgy to start off. Now, Sinner broke Alcaraz early in the first set, and you thought, okay, he's going to take control of this first set and win the first set. Alcaraz goes from down 4-2 to winning 4 straight games, to breaking Jannik Sinner in the last game to win the set with some of the most impressive ball striking and baseline running that you will see from Carlos Alcaraz, the most talented player of this new generation of tennis players. And it was amazing. It was unbelievable. And I'm like, wow, those are just oh my God shots where Jannik, you didn't do anything wrong. You're just playing against a guy who is not human, it feels like, in the sport, especially right now. And he probably should have won that first set. He'll feel like he should have won that first set, but Alcaraz takes control of it. I almost think that may have been a good thing for Jannik, Because almost every other match that he's lost against Alcaraz, there have been a few ones that were like not even close. Like the Italian Open final, Alcaraz won the tiebreak and then blitzed him in the second set. The China Open, I believe, Sinner won the first set, lost the last two. Alcaraz was the champion. Obviously, we know what happened in the French Open. The French last year as well, Sinner won the first set, Alcaraz won the second, Sinner won the third, then Alcaraz won the last two. So it actually seems like it's Indian Wells in 2024, last year, Sinner won the first set, Alcaraz won the last two sets. It almost seems like Sinner winning the first set has actually been bad for him against Carlos, because that's when he's the most vulnerable. Maybe he just relaxes. Maybe he thinks, I got this. Maybe he stops trying things. Maybe he stops trying some very hard hitting forehands, some baseline shots where he just barely gets a ball in. He had a couple of shots that were in by millimeters on the electric line calling when we saw the replay, and I was like, I don't think those are shots that Sinner tries if he wins the first set. Maybe he gets too careful, and he did not get too careful. He said, F it, and I'm going to try everything, and I love that from Jannik. I love that he just put that in and said, I'm going to try everything that it takes to beat this freakish player. He comes back in the second set, and he wins the last game with Alcaraz serving, and he does to Alcaraz what Alcaraz did to him in the first set, hitting some unbelievable shots, running all over the baseline, hitting shots to the other side of his body, cross court, running everywhere, backhands down the line, and I was like, that he just did to Alcaraz what Alcaraz is known for, because we compare Sinner a little bit more to Djokovic in terms of his play style. That's why a lot of people were saying that the final, not the final, when Sinner played Djokovic in the last round, that was 2011 Djokovic versus 2025 Djokovic. Maybe the IQ was higher, but 2011 Djokovic is just faster, stronger, moves better, all the physical attributes are just better, and that's what happened. But he put up some impressive shots, some unbelievable shot making. At one point, he even tried a Nick Kyrgios between the legs hit, which was pretty cool to see. But he just knew that it's going to take everything for me to win. And he won again in the third set. Now, the fourth set is where I got a little bit tense. He broke him a little bit early. And I thought to myself, okay, this is in your hands. But we saw what happened when it was in your hands in Paris. And a lot of us freaked out that it was going to happen again if you're a fan of Jannik Sinner. I love both of them. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't rooting for it. I just wanted a great match. And that's what we got. And a lot of us were worried. And I didn't want Jannik to go out in the way he did, because if it gets to fifth set, Alcaraz is virtually invincible in fifth sets. He's only lost one 5-set match in his entire career. I think he's 13-1 now. It's unbelievable. But Jannik being down 40-15, 5-3, with him serving, it was 4-3 with him serving. For those 4 points that he played after being down 15-40 might be the 4 most important points of Jannik's entire career. Because if he misses one of those and Alcaraz breaks him, knowing the type of player Alcaraz is and the way he clutches up, I would not put it past him, and I would maybe almost favor him to win that set. And like I said, if it goes to 5 sets, sayonara, Alcaraz is going to win, most likely, over 90% chance, just mathematically. Those 4 points that Jannik played, and the way he played at that point, that is so incredibly impressive, and that just shows you the kind of player and the willpower that Jannik Sinner is. The way that this is not the same player that played in the Paris final. The player who played in the Paris final maybe gets hesitant and complacent and a little bit timid. He played as big as ever, and he was like, no, you're not going to break me. You're not going to get this back on serve. I'm going to go up 5-3, and I'm going to have the match and the championship on my rackets, and that's exactly what he did. 40 to love, 5-3, and he was serving for the match, 3 championship points. Alcaraz did save the first one. Jannik had a backhand that just hit into the net. But then 40-15, perfect serve right on the line. Alcaraz couldn't return it. Jannik Sinner is the Wimbledon champion. And I just feel so happy for him. I feel so happy for him because of the way he was treated by the sport, because of the way that everybody disliked him, because you could see that center court was more behind Alcaraz than Sinner. Part of that might be they just wanted the match to go for longer, especially when Sinner got up 2-1. But also, Alcaraz is won with Wimbledon now. He's won the last 2 Wimbledons, and he's been in his 3rd straight final. And he's clearly the more popular player in this sport. So they were more behind him than they were with Sinner. But Jannik didn't care. And that's one great thing with Jannik. The crowd doesn't seem to faze him. I think Alcaraz faces him, as we've seen in the last 5 matches before this one. I don't think the crowd phased him because he played against Taylor Fritz in the US Open final, and it wasn't even close. I don't even care about the stats. It wasn't close. So Jannik, great player, great champion, great competitor, and he was fully deserving of this. Like I said, the Grigor Dimitrov match will still be one of the biggest what-ifs potentially in tennis history, depending on how this Alcaraz-Sinner sort of rivalry goes down, and if it can rival Federer, Nadal, and Nadal, Djokovic, and those great rivalries with the big three, and I believe that it certainly will. But regardless, this day is about Jannik Sinner, 4-time Grand Slam champion, avenges his loss to Carlos Alcaraz, one of the most special players you'll ever see, and he did it in absolute style, and it was so great to see him happy. And where does this leave Carlos Alcaraz? He'll be back. He'll be fine. He's still great. Alcaraz will be just fine. He'll come back. It almost seemed like Alcaraz wasn't as sad to lose this match as he was to lose several other matches in his career. Do you remember how he was after 2023 Cincinnati when he lost to Djokovic after he had championship points? Gutted. Do you remember how he was after the 2024 Olympics against Djokovic when both sets ended in the tiebreak? Gutted. He didn't seem as upset and sad to win this particular one. Maybe he was just with the fact that Sinner was just a better player today. It's almost a little bit more satisfying to lose to a player where you're like, he was just a better player on the day than to lose a match where you know you should have won. And maybe Alcaraz is like, he was just better. I heard in some of the translation that it was saying, Alcaraz was saying, he's playing much better than me right now. And he was honest. He's playing much better than me right now. And he was. But regardless, Alcaraz will be back. Hard court season coming up now. Hard court is Jannik's territory. I imagine he'll skip Canada, but then play in Cincinnati and try to defend his title. Obviously play US. Probably play in both Shanghai and Paris. And then I don't know how the Davis Cup is going right now, but Italy usually always make it far back-to-back champions. And then, yeah, he'll be playing the ATP finals, obviously. So you favor Jannik to win all those because he's the best hard court player in the game right now. But is it impossible for Carlos to win one of those? Absolutely not. Carlos did win the China Open last year over Jannik Sinner, and Carlos can definitely win any of these tournaments because he's also a really good hardcourt player. He's just not the hardcourt player Sinner is, but he's better on the natural surfaces, clay and grass. But what a match. I'm so happy for Jannik. He did it. He pulled through. We have a new champion at Wimbledon because if we've seen, since 2002 when Leighton Hewitt won, we've had 8 championships by Federer, 7 by Djokovic, 2 by Murray, 2 by Nadal, and 2 by Alcaraz. And now we have a new champion. It's been a lot of repeats, and I think Jannik will probably win another Wimbledon during his career. But Wimbledon seems to be the tournament where the best players win, just because they are the most focused and most locked in on winning this tournament. That's really every tennis Grand Slam, but it's not a type of tournament where you see as many one-time winners. It's not like the US Open, and I really like the US Open, but the US Open I feel like is the one where you see the most amount of one-time winners. Medvedev, one-time winner. Dominic Thiem, one-time winner. Martin Cilic, one-time winner of the US Open. You don't see that as much in Wimbledon. You don't see that much in the French. I don't think you see it as much with the Australian Open, but that's because Djokovic won 10, Federer won 6, even Nadal won 2. Sayonara. The big three, of course, going to dominate that. But new Wimbledon champion, his name is Jannik Sinner, and he prevailed. Now, another thing that I would like to touch up on is the fact that Iga Swiatek absolutely destroyed Amanda Anisimova yesterday. It wasn't even close. The match was ended in less than an hour. Anisimova was terrible. She was absolutely terrible. All credits to Iga. She was relentless. But Anisimova was terrible. Maybe a lot of people are going to be upset because both Swiatek and Sinner were found to have illegal substances in their body. And a lot of people think that, 2 dopers won Wimbledon. This is horrible for the sport. But my thing has always been this. When they were found guilty of juicing, whatever, what would they look like before then? What did they look like? Because both of them were Grand Slam champions before that. Both of them had won several Masters 1000s before that. And both of them were considered some of the best players in the world before that. So how much better do you think it truly made them is the question that I have. Do you think, would they still have been great? Absolutely. It's not a Barry Bonds situation where Bonds was in decline, he was older, and then all of a sudden he became the greatest hitter who ever lived, better even than Babe Ruth when he went to San Francisco. It's not the same thing. These are players who are young in their prime, and they were greats before they were even guilty of it. So what does that mean? Don't buy it at all. They're both champions. I mean, Do you really think that Swiatek winning 6-love, how much do you think the illegal substance had any part to play in that? Obviously, they're off of it now because they have to be for the changes. But do you think any of these matches would have gone drastically different if that weren't the case? No, of course not. Absolutely not. So yeah, regardless, I don't buy anything that people say. Those are two Wimbledon champions, but most importantly, Jannik Sinner in a dramatic match. And I cannot wait to watch more matches of this rivalry because it is the most exhilarating one-on-one rivalry that we have in sports right now. And I love seeing it every time we have the opportunity. Congrats, Jannik. You played fantastically today.